So in today's video, we're going to be talking about Team of the Year voting starting today and everything we can expect to see today and in the next few weeks regarding Team of the Year. On top of that, we'll be talking about the market rising as of the last 24 hours and what we expect and, well, where you guys can go and make some investments. But on the topic of investments, before we just start the video, if you guys are interested, I do offer a daily subscriber trading guide over on Twitch/Discord. All you gotta do is click on the top link in the description and subscribe over on Twitch. It is free with Amazon Prime. If not, it's £5, €5, or $6. Between now and the 1st of February, you'll receive daily updated investments, and some of the investments that have done very, very well are some of the winter wildcards. For example, we recommended Neres at 24 and he's already up at 30. Recommended Bernardo Silva the other day at 125 and he's up to 145. Recommended Ruffalo for under 130, she's closing on a 160. Recommended Scott for under 40, she's pushing mid 50s. And yeah, loads of other investments that have done really well, and there's plenty of investments you guys can go and make that are part of it at the moment. So let's go and talk about today's video, which we're going to be at least opening with the Team of the Year voting. The Team of the Year voting starts on the 6th of Jan, aka today, and yeah, basically is the first bit of content and the first we're going to see and kind of will know who's in the up and coming Team of the Year. So what is Team of the Year voting? Now, Team of the Year voting is where EA basically gives us a load of nominees and you go and pick your starting 11. It's traditionally 1 goalkeeper, 4 defenders and 4 midfielders. They then proceed to just go and give the best players who don't get a Team of the Year a honourable mention, but I guess we'll talk about that a little bit about that in a second. So this is what they have last year. Team of the Year is here, meet the world-class nominees, blah 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 blah. Prepare your vote on the men's and women's on the 8th of January. This year everything is like 2 days earlier than last year, so obviously this year it's the 6th of January and last year was the 8th of January. It will be shortly announced after voting concludes with a special Team of the Year player items released. And I believe that happened as of the 19th, which is the 17th this year. So there is a vast amount of players you guys can go and vote on. Again, we don't have the voting list yet, which is kind of weird because half time we already have the voting list by now. So they do the same for the men's as the women's. You get 11 players for the men's and then you get 11 players for the women's, which traditionally are just the most, like 11 most popular players in FIFA. Last year we got Mary Earps. Then the defenders, we only got ourselves Renard. We then got ourselves Kachawi. We didn't go and get ourselves Ruffalo last year, but I'd be very surprised if she's in the voting that we don't get her this year. Because it's kind of like, especially with last year, as having a whole FIFA cycle of women's cards, everyone kind of now has their favourite sort of cards and the meta sort of cards. So I'd imagine whatever people were using all last year and whatever people were using the start of this year, you know, could get one. Although saying that, Batchy obviously when he got herself an SBC, but then never ended up getting into the Team of the Year. There we go. We got a little bit more about this right here. We got the nominees there, and then of course, what I was talking about earlier is once the Team of the Year voting is all done, then we go and get ourselves the 12th man, which last year was Ronaldo, and then we go and get some honourable mentions. So you can see how like Vinicius Jr., big name, Mohamed Salah, big name, Valverde, relatively big name when it comes to FIFA. If the top players don't end up getting voted in, half the time they just end up being honourable mention cards. So I wouldn't worry too much. And again, they end up with some pretty decent cards. I mean, Vinicius Jr. is 92, which isn't too far, at least off some of the lower rated Team of the Years. There isn't too much for me to go and cover regarding Team of the Year, other than just let you guys know it's coming out. We do have the schedule right here, so the voting of course on the 6th. Then we have Team of the Year warm-up, which is a bunch of upgrade SBCs coming on the 14th. We then get the attackers on the 17th, the midfielders on the 19th. Of course, that's men's and women's attackers and midfielders. Defenders and goalkeeper on the 21st. The 14th is released on the 23rd, which is normally when the market starts rebounding. And then the 12th man released on the 24th. And those should be in packs all the way through to the 31st of January. So that's the schedule for the rest of them. So even though voting starts, we're not going to go and get ourselves Team of the Year for the best part of about 2 weeks. So that again is everything we have to go and talk about Team of the Year. Let's go and have a little talk about the market and EA's content or lack of. Now, yes, they released a video about how a new Icon SBC pack was coming. And again, traditionally, and I covered this in the video, EA will always improve the Icon SBC unless they had an expensive Icon SBC and then they want to go and repeat it for cheap. But last time the Icon SBC came out, I think it was only about 190k. It was very, very cheap. So the odds on them not increasing it, bear in mind they increased it last year, and more times than not they'll increase it over repeating the same thing. And the second thing, the Icon SBC was already very cheap. There was a lot of things that would favour towards them increasing the Icon SBC, or, you know, making it better. But they didn't. EA just released the exact same SBCs, and it was like 30, 40k cheaper. It wasn't. We did think, okay, well maybe if they're releasing the same icon SBC, maybe it's repeatable a limited amount of times. But no. So traditionally, what happens is that the market will go and rise. The market will go and drop after the icon SBC because people are selling players in their club. They're selling players because they're replacing them with icons, or maybe they're just switching their teams around. But we didn't see any commotion on the market yesterday because, you know, no one cared. No one cared about getting an icon SBC that even 2 weeks ago was arguably slightly outdated. So what did it go and do to the market? Well, it did have a bit of market impact. We can go and see that 84s before it was out was 1.8, and now they're 2k. We can see that 85s before it was out was 4k, they're now 4.5k. We can see 86s were 5.1k, they're now 6.5k. But it kind of peaked right there because we see 87s were 7k and they're 7.5. So we kind of peaked with 86s, and that comes down to the squad that's required are 85 to 86 rates. So 86 is kind of like the most middle of the road one. And then 90 rated, interestingly, didn't go and drop despite not being needed. So fodder wasn't too bad. Informs didn't really do anything. You know, they're 12.5 before the SBC, they're 12.5 after. So we didn't really go and see any impact there. Now we'll talk a little bit about specials rising in a second, but we'll just talk about the other SBCs we want to got. We want to got ourselves a Sadio Mane. Yeah, I mean, the Sadio Mane, a semi-interesting card if you're running a Saudi team. If you're not running a Saudi team, probably couldn't be any less interesting. Power shot, finesse, rapid plus, flair, relentless, quick step, with the roles of a wide playmaker plus, and a shallow striker as a cam. And coming in, I think it was 140k. It's okay. It's good if you've got a Saudi team, and it's okay if you know, I mean, it's a meh SBC if you don't. Not the most desirable card in terms of, I guess, fitting the average person's team, but it's one of those sort of nostalgia cards. Obviously, Mane's had loads of big SBCs, and obviously he's a very infamous player. So, you know, there's kind of demand and hype around him as of that. But yeah, there wasn't too much demand for the SBC. We can see this because before the Mane came out, Ronaldo's 230. Ronaldo is currently 236. We'll talk about in a second how the market rose yesterday, so how him being up 6k isn't anything interesting. Same with the inform Ronaldo, 62k before he came out, now 65, so nothing crazy there. Gold Ronaldo before he came out, 6.7, currently 7. N'Golo Kante, that would strong chem link him, 330 before he came out, 335 now. I think one of the most showing things to see that the Mane isn't that demanded is if I can go and show you the price right now of the Saudi Arabia managers, chem stars, which again, when there's really well demanded SBCs in minor leagues, these skyrocket. They're only 700 coins. In fact, Liga Portugal is 600 coins. We haven't had an SBC for them for ages, so it just shows that he's not really that well demanded. Well, as a result of the non-well demanded icon SBC and the Saudi Mane, we saw a really nice rise in the market. Obviously, a lot of players I showed you at the beginning of the video, they rose quite nicely yesterday because the icon SBC sucks. And as soon as we knew the icon SBC sucked, I recommended everyone investing all their coins before the icon SBC came out. Because if people aren't replacing stuff, well, then they're going to go and panic buy stuff after 6. And that's exactly kind of what we saw. Well, that's what we saw, kind of. So, for example, we can see the likes of Vitinha. And before the SBC was out, he was 193. After the SBC was 200, he's now 210. We can also go and see this happen with Bernardo Silva. Before the SBC was 147. He then went down to 140 in the panic selling. And he's now up to 154k. We can see this happen with players like Scott. We can see before the SBC she was 46, she then got panic sold down to about 42. Well, since she's gone and rebounded up to 52. So we can see there was a bit of panic selling going into it, but they've all rebounded post. Again, we can see McMahon, 154, got panic sold down to 150 before. He's now up to 165. Yeah, I mean, there you go. So, that is just showing you that the market is rising. And I'll be honest with you, just like how the market rose all last week, and I can show you this with McMahon, the market rose Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, and players who weren't in packs, and I think I can go and grab, who can we go and grab? Bernardo Silva would have been in packs. Let me go and grab a Winter Wildcard Team 1. These cards rose all through the week last year. There you go, we can see right here, here's the Sunday, they just rose and rose and rose, slight drop there, but then rose and rose and rose. So we're basically anticipating the market to keep rising and rising and rising. Perfect. So what sort of players do you want to buy? Because not necessarily everything is a good buy. We show you this via the likes of McMahon. Because if I go and show you McMahon last Thursday, we can see he did 113k up to 137. But if we go and show you another player who's about the same sort of price range, Lizaru, in the morning he was 191, in the evening he was 200k. So you can see that one player had a much higher percentage rise than the other player. So in my opinion, if I go and show you the daily, and even if we go and look at the Tuesday price, it was still only 191. So not necessarily everything rises that well through the week. So I've got 3 different sorts of players that I recommend looking at as investing, because I think it shows there's good demand. So the first of that is those players who rose nicely last Thursday. You can easily see what anyone rose last Thursday. Let me go and grab. Let's go for Ultimate Succession icon. All you got to do is go and grab the player, like Baresi. We're then going to go hourly on Footbin, and then we're going to go Thursday, and we can see what they did on Thursday. And the idea is if they rose, I'd say at least 15% from the morning to the afternoon, I would say they're a nice buy. So for example, we can see that McMahon before in the morning was 114k, in the evening he was about 140. So that's going to be a rise of the best part of, again, about 15%. I'd say if you go over 10% it would be decent. Whereas if we go and look at Lizaru and we compare him on the Thursday, in the morning he was 190, in the evening he was 200. He rose 5%. So you'd much want to favour players who rose at least 10%. The second sort of trend I'd go for, so the first one is players who rose nicely last Thursday, is players who've just been rising all weekend. So for example, we can go the likes of Vitinha, and I can show you Vitinha rose on the, let me go and grab what the second was. He rose on the Thursday, he rose on the Friday, he rose on the Saturday, he rose on the Sunday. This as well shows us that he's a high end demand player because he rose all weekend when not necessarily everything was rising all weekend. I mean, I probably can show you, to me, as Lizaru did rise over the weekend, but you know, not quite as good as Vitinha. He's up like 30% from 40% from Thursday. And the third thing I'd look at buying would be players who had a price range decrease. So a lot of the winter wildcards weren't selling at them in price ranges. EA decreased them, but have rebounded nicely since the price range decreased. We can see this happen very nicely here with the likes of Prince, where she wasn't selling at 300. They decreased her to 128, but she's been rising every single day. And what's she going for today? Right now she's 185. And she's already averaging higher than what she was going for yesterday. You can see it's just been a steady increase. So that will be the third sort of player I'd look to go and invest in. So what players will fit one of these 3 trends? They rose on the Thursday, they either rose over the weekend, or they rose when they got a price range update. Well, from our findings in previous videos, Winter Wildcard Team 1, 2 and 3 had the best rises between today through to Friday. So I would say you can go and invest in Winter Wildcard Team 1. I'd say you could go and look at finding these sort of players. Well, not necessarily every player will work, but you know, you're going to have a lot more luck finding these sort of players in these teams. You then got Winter Wildcard Team 2. We then have Winter Wildcard Team 3. We then have Winter Wildcards Icons. We then have Winter Wildcard Heroes. And if I was to invest in anything other than Winter Wildcards, I'd probably want to go the best of. I talked about this in the previous video. A lot of these best of players had decent rises on the Thursday. They had decent rises over the weekend. So these would be the other investments I'd recommend other than Winter Wildcards. There's also just a quick little tip. Like I said, you want to go and buy players who had a price range decrease and then have risen nicely since that. To find the players who've had a price range decrease, what you want to do is you want to head over to Footbin. You want to scroll over market, and then you want to go and click on price ranges, and this will show you everyone who's had a price range decrease. And then what you're looking for is you're just looking for players who've had a nice rebound since then. So a nice example of this would be someone like Ruffalo. Again, she pops up here, so she's had nice price range decrease. And we can see that she was 135k on the Sunday, but has since risen up to 155. I'd also recommend using FootGG because for some reason Footbin went down over the weekend, and because it went down over the weekend, it hasn't necessarily tracked everyone's price very well. But again, we can see right there with the Ruffalo, there we go, 130 up there to 160. So using the likes of FootGG and Footbin for this price range updates, we can see some of the players that have done nicely. Other content we've got in the last 24 hours, EA went and dropped some CDMs, but I don't think there's anything to do with these. One, I don't think there's anything to do with these because last year Fire and Ice cards just didn't rise nicely over the Friday. And 2, they're just not very appetizing prices. 1.4 million coin cards are never really that amazing. We got Billy Gilmore, which is hard to believe that. I mean, I guess you got the Lukaku links, but hard to believe he'd really be 47k. Then got Stiller, and I just can't see there being any demand on Stiller, so I wouldn't want to gamble on him rebounding later in the week. Likewise with Milady. And yeah, Douglas Augusto I don't think is very demanded. So the mini release, lovely, but I don't think there's any opportunities to flipping it. Another thing that has been leaked is there is a new Evo coming, a CDM Evo, so you might have to be a little bit careful with some of those centre mid and CDM investments. Well, he leaked that Tuchemeni fits, he leaked that this guy's Evo fits, he leaks that Wiffer fits, but Jones's Evo doesn't fit. He leaked that Zambo and Guisa fits, he leaked that Daria fits. He also leaked that a Evo Tuchemeni, but not an Evo Turam fits. And I think that is it, an Informed Jones fits. Well, what I've done is I've used all those players and I've found all of their maximums and so on and so on. And yeah, this is kind of the criteria we've found. We found it has to be a CDM. It can be no higher rated than 84 rated. Sorry, 85 rated. Can have a maximum pace of 81, a maximum dribbling of 84, a maximum passing of 80, a maximum shooting of 76, a maximum defending of 83, and a maximum physical of 91. These are not guaranteed to be the requirements, but these are minimum the requirements. You know, that you might get away with more, but from what's publicly leaked, these are the requirements. So the question is, what are the best players that fit under these requirements? First one of that is Tuchemeni. Obviously, he's directly leaked that Tuchemeni fits, but he is one of the best players. The second one that's not too bad is Lima. Yeah, the problem is we haven't really had any Evo Limas in the past for him to be necessarily that popular. Player who was very popular at the beginning of FIFA was Casiedo for fitting Evos. And he fits. Reindeer's one of the guys who I'd say could be an investment, but the problem is if we don't get the Evo today or tomorrow, well, this gold card's back in packs. Obviously, it's out of packs at the moment due to being a team of the week, so he's back in packs on the Wednesday. So you can go and invest in him, but it's a little bit risky because of if the Evo isn't dropped too soon. Another player going fits it is Minot. Obviously, he's done very well fitting Evos in the past. He also, I don't think, is looking too inflated, so you can probably take a gamble with him. The only worry I have is that he's inflated because of previous Evos he fits, and maybe they're expiring soon, so I have to do a little bit of research with that. Other players who go and fit Grav and Birch, but I'd be a little bit worried about how much supply there probably is on the market regarding this guy. Same with Thuram. He's had some popular Evos in the past, and he goes and fits. Renato Sanchez, you had that one-off Evo which he fit, and apart from that, you know, is not much demand. And finally, last player I've gone and found that I think will be quite demanded is Mecha. Had some popular Evos in the past. And that is kind of going to wrap that up. Again, there's no guarantee this Evo is good, there's no guarantee it's free, there's no guarantee what on earth it is. But yeah, that's from my research, everyone that fits. But that's going to go and wrap that up. Thank you very much for watching today's video. Again, we'll be streaming these 0 to 1 million coins in 20 hours Road to Glory, so feel free to jump over on the stream for that. And yeah, see you guys tomorrow with a brand new video.